Carla and Lou here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And we're nearing the end of 2021, but still continuing the Nasties run. We are slowly getting towards the end of it. I mean, this will be episode number 42 of 72.
Ooh.
So we are getting there. Put it this way, by the end of 2022, we should be actually finished.
Completely done.
Should be completely done. And we're still trawling our way through some of the harder to find ones, but still the occasional hit, so to speak, the ones that are better known.
Yeah.
I think this one falls into that. It's not quite top tier like Cannibal, Holocaust, Zombie Flesh Eaters, the Beyond. Those are the top tier, well-known ones.
Yeah.
But when you compare it to, say, Toxic Zombies, Gestapo's Last Orgy and stuff like that, that's like the ones lesser known.
Yeah.
And you have the middle tier, which is films like this.
Yeah.
Night of the Demon, a very generic name.
Yeah, that can be so many things.
It's very puzzling because it's one letter short of
Night of the Demons.
a famous franchise.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of it. And there's a really strong case to say it's not reflective of the movie,
No.
so to speak. I mean, from a sort of hillbilly hick, isolated community kind of thing, a Yeti / Sasquatch can be, I guess, seen as like a demonic creature.
Monster.
Night of the Monster, that's even more generic.
Yeah, I know, but yeah.
A lot of it takes place in the day as well.
Yeah.
But it is a 1980 American horror film directed by James C. Wasson, written by Jim L. Ball and Mike Williams, and starring Michael Colt, Jodie Lazarus, Michael Lang, and Melanie Graham. The film's story predominantly centres around anthropology and a specific anthropologist who, along with a group of his pupils, which is a weird angle, ends up embarking on some expedition to a rural region of North Carolina. Northern California, not North Carolina. I just threw it in to see if you get it. But they're searching for the existence of Bigfoot, which is already like, wait, dude, really? Really?
You've probably seen more films than me about.
I've seen a lot of Sasquatch-based horror movies. They tend to come from the low-budget end of things. So to go to one that's a nasty from the 80s, focusing on that, had me gone, oh no, this is going to be absolutely terrible.
Yep.
However, I'll give it some credit. It's all right.
Yeah. What's the worst one we've seen?
Or the best.
Yeah.
I think it sits squarely in the middle, where it's got a nonsensical story where it then massively overcomplicates it by creating this township angle briefly that it never really builds upon. Some history in regarding the mother of Bigfoot, I guess.
Yeah.
Not the mother, sorry, the wife.
Yeah.
We'll get into that side of things, but it gets quite like, what the fuck is going on?
I feel like the pacing as well can be...
The pacing is poor, but ultimately the hardest thing to get into immediately is the setup. Because you're like, okay, this is an anthropologist who takes the students to go search for Bigfoot. What? A, how are you allowed to do that? You're a school teacher. What are you on about? But aren't you supposed to be a scientist?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Bigfoot...
Sketchy evidence of, some people have had reports and people have gone missing in those hills. Well, yeah, that just means someone's killed them. Doesn't mean it's fucking Bigfoot, does it, you lunatic? You know? But they do end up going out to these hills and, of course, end up coming across Bigfoot, who systematically kills them throughout the movie, which is at least fun. Of course, banned in the UK during the craze of the 1980s, it was passed with 1 minute and 41 seconds of cuts in 1994. Originally titled The Revenge of Bigfoot. That was in the script, which is even worse. The movie's name was later changed when the interest in Bigfoot movies that started in the 70s waned. So they were trying to cash in on that. Everyone got a bit bored of that shit.
Oh, shit.
And they were like, let's change it.
Revenge of the medium-sized foot? That might work.
It's big. It's big. It's a big foot, like what we perceive Bigfoot to be.
Yeah.
Look, I suppose we'll say this now. This sort of urban legend, the existence of Bigfoot, is very laughable to me. Of all the things you want to believe that can exist in this world, this one is a stretch. You know, it's like the Loch Ness Monster. It's like, be serious. Come on, man. Be serious.
I like the one I took a sillier part. The sillier element of it, like Bigfoot and Henderson's. That was more enjoyable. But living with you, that was more fun.
As I said already, I've seen a lot of horror movies that do this, from found footage to super low budget indie offerings that have tried to make Sasquatches or Bigfoot in general. Because that's the thing, like, Bigfoot is a specific Sasquatch. You just use Sasquatches in general. It's some basically humanoid ape.
I think it takes a lot of quite a big chunk of money to make it look scary.
To be convincing,
To be convincing and scary. Otherwise, you end up looking like it looks shit. Or they do found footage where they do obviously shaky blurry cameras to kind of.
Which is what I've watched.
Get away with that kind of.
Yeah, because
people picking at it.
Oh, but look, that's like the famous photo, right? Which is that famous photo of Bigfoot walking. You know, but like, why is it so shit? Absolutely. Yeah. So there are some interesting tidbits about this. Going to throw in these. The original edit of the film included scenes of a helicopter rescue of the remaining students after the two were killed by Bigfoot's monster. This is the ending in the movie. The rescue sequence was headed by the town sheriff, which is Paul Keller, and was followed by a scene between the sheriff and Crazy Wanda, which is Melanie Graham, outside a cabin in which the sheriff assures Crazy Wanda that Bigfoot is still alive and well. Those scenes were eventually cut when the initial distributor determined that the film would be more commercial if all the students were killed by Bigfoot in a climactic blood bath, except one who would obviously live to tell the tale.
Yeah.
Now, thank fuck they did that. Oh, thank fuck they changed it, because...
A happy ending.
We don't need an ending like that. That sounds really boring. Yeah. Oh, the majority of them all get out alive. What?
Yeah.
Whereas compared to the rampage we get at the end, you're at least like, yeah, that's fun. Everybody dies.
Enjoyable to watch.
Absolutely. As a result of these post-production changes, though, Paul Keller, who has been a fairly substantial actor, appears only briefly as the sheriff in a walk-on bit when the students first arrive in the village. However, he's listed as a member of the principal cast in the opening credits, which were completed before that ending. The alternative ending was insane. Yeah, so the helicopter rescue, all that existed. So he had a major part to play in the movie.
Yep.
Then they cut all of that, changed the ending, leaving him with a tiny little segment. Snippet. And it's like, okay, but you're still listed like top bill. It's like one of those, almost like a hilarity where you get like a major movie that has a brief cameo, major horror movie has a brief cameo from the likes of, say, Tony Todd or whatever, and it's listed like starring Tony Todd, but he's in it for all of like 2 minutes, if that.
He serves a pint in a pub as a walk-on.
Exactly that, but because you know it's going to capture people's imagination, you know. Yeah. The film is told in flashback form. Thankfully, majority stays in a flashback. Like, we're not cutting back and forth to this person telling the story. We open with that person. Yep. And we end with that person, and that is it. And it's Bill Nugent, an anthropology professor. We start with him in a hospital, where apparently his face has been wrecked. Yeah. Enough so that they're covering it, half of it, with like some sort of cloth. It is a terrible start, because you're like, that's just a rag over his face. What are you trying to do? Yeah. And when we see his injuries at the end, what's supposed to have happened to him, it makes even less sense. Yeah. It makes even less sense, but it's really a bad start where you're like, oh, great. Yeah. This is what we're doing. And he's telling this story to a police officer and a doctor. He was approached by Carla Thomas, a young woman whose father was murdered in Northern California. I almost said North Carolina again. She's basically convinced that he was killed by something evil, something beastly, something monstrous. She thinks he was killed by Bigfoot. According to the legend, resides in the woods in this region. Because, of course, that's how legends work. He lives here, but no one ever found him. Although everyone apparently dies, and no one ever goes to look into that. Yeah, it's just the way things go. It's fine. Loads of disappearances, brutal murders, including the death of a young couple. We see a lot of this. We cut to random deaths of people. A young couple, the biker that gets killed as well, and the 2 Girl Scouts, which was a nice touch. Although they were clearly a lot fucking older than Girl Scouts might be. But yeah, but basically police have been like, of course it's not Bigfoot. It's a hoax, don't be silly. Which is fine, except that's still a lot of people being killed. Maybe look into this.
It would trigger some sort of investigation.
But Carla convinces Bill that it is Bigfoot and he should come check it out, along with 4 of his students, Roy, Pete, Gary and Linda. And Bill's like, yeah, I'm going to go prove Bigfoot exists. And this is where I struggle to get into the movie. Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't buy it.
And the way he talks sometimes, like, he's quite a strong character in it.
Yeah.
Like, really? I don't know. Maybe having something more closer to him would be more believable. Some random chick going, oh, this has happened, rather than something happened to him, or this is his life's passion. I don't know.
Maybe he's got an obsession with it. Yeah. Show a more obsession with it, of desperately wanting to prove it. Show that he constantly reaches dead end in his own scientific research, and he's hoping for a big break, and he thinks he not necessarily not believe that Bigfoot exists, but he feels that might be some evidence of some wild animal or something that we don't know about. That aspect. But no, it's just like, yeah, Bigfoot exists and I'm going to go prove it. for reasons, and I'm going to bring a couple of my students along who are all apparently also are buying into this.
Yeah.
If
It's jolly though. It's very jolly
Is it
for
though?
them.
Is it? Because camping in the woods is not a jolly, as you put it.
They might have seen it as a break away, as a holiday extra credit or some
But then have that in the movie, because that's not the case
it's
at all.
Not told us that.
They just see this as a great opportunity as well. And I'll be honest, man, if I was a student, my professor was like, yeah, Bigfoot exists. We you know, I'm an anthropologist and Bigfoot exists. I'd be like, might want to speak to the dean, a person in charge about the professor's teaching methods, that kind of thing. But he ended up embarking and heading off, going by boat along a river, and ended up coming to a property that's kind of hidden away by owned by an elderly man, Lou Carson. He's very offish with them. Yeah. We had a lot of fun watching this movie because of the silly moments. Like, he won't really talk to them and says he goes off go hunting. Yeah. So they're like, all right, sweet, let's camp on his property. Yeah. We were like, this is America. He comes back with a gun and you camped on his property. Yeah. You know?
It was quite a funny thing because part of it made sense. I mean, like, just the fact of, oh, okay, we're just going to camp here. Yep. They asked him, can we camp here?
After the fact.
Yeah.
After the fact. When he comes back, they go to speak to him like, look, we hope you don't mind, all that kind of thing. Yeah. And he's a little warmer, a little friendlier, but he's still quite dismissive. He really doesn't want to talk to them. But
he has like a nice scene, one of the guys that was there, isn't it?
Well, when he goes in, because we should note the reason why they went looking for Lou Carlson is because he had done a newspaper report or wrote a letter claiming that he'd seen Bigfoot. Yeah. So that's kind of why that's their initial direction and why they really want to talk to him. Yeah. But yeah, we do get a good scene. Roy ends up going into the house, speaking to Lou, talking to him and offering him cigarettes and alcohol, and discussing with him.
Yeah, a bit more respectful. It was a nice bit of dialogue and well acted.
It moved the story along. Yeah. We'd kind of stalled at this point because we weren't going any further with Lou, so we needed the story to move on a bit, and it did it well enough. Yeah. Because Lou ends up pointing in the direction of Wanda, or Crazy Wanda as she's known. Crazy Wanda.
I want a nickname like that.
She's a reclusive woman who resides deep in the woods and supposedly knows more about Bigfoot. Then we get more like constantly cutting back to, you never see Bigfoot at this stage, but you see them getting killed. A hunter ends up being attacked and impaled by a branch. These scenes of when we do go back and forth between, these are where the video nasty aspect comes out. Yeah. Is a lot of the deaths can be quite violent and quite gruesome in regards to up close camera shots of wounds. Obviously trying to hide a lot of the other things, they always got close to a wound. It's very very things like Night at the Cemetery, The House by the Cemetery, beyond that aspect of thing. Fulci's style, where it's up close and delayed on it. So you do get a little bit out. I think it's quite prevalent in these Girl Scouts death, which is probably where I would looked at as one of the angles where it's like, there's the nasty aspect.
You would take it as nasty.
Because you're implying these were two young girls getting killed and it's violent. The next day, Nugent and his companions, they end up go visiting the nearby town. Where they talk to a lot of locals. I love this. This is my favourite scene in it because this is done in really clever editing fashion where one person's end of a conversation is the start of the next person's conversation in a new scene. So if you've ever seen the jokey ending to Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery and that, where it's about the dick jokes.
Oh, yeah.
And one person's final line.
Yeah. Johnson.
Look at that. Look at that. And then it switches to Johnson, like that kind of thing. That's what they're doing here. Not in a comedic way, but it flows brilliantly. And you're getting a lot of information from locals who talk about legends, like you would. You know, I heard this. Another good example of this done well is Blair Witch Project at the very start when they're talking to locals, although that doesn't have quite the clever cuts. I was really impressed by this. I was like, I said to you when it ended, and I was like, damn, they did that really well.
They did it really well.
Like, I really enjoyed it. We got quick information that lasts maybe a minute to a minute and a half, and you get a ton.
And it was nice because it kind of brought in the fact that sometimes people like just talking about local lore. Some people talk about quite proudly. And
legends.
Legends.
Yeah, we've got this local legend. Everyone wants to have one.
Yeah, which is good because obviously we said that whole Sasquatch thing and it's all bollocks. And it's like, well, we're going to the town and see what they think. And,
what they think.
It was a good scene.
Yeah, they ended up giving out more information about Wanda, and she's the daughter of a crazy preacher called Emmett McGinty, who's apparently had a cult. Basically, was a cult leader. Heavily religious, Christianity religious as well. We should point that out because the film makes that perfectly clear. And apparently his followers engaged in cannibalism, human sacrifice, and inbreeding. Yeah. There's a lot of quick information about it. And I don't think the film does very well with flashbacks that we get later. So what this movie does annoyingly is we are watching a flashback, but in that flashback we will have flashbacks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, guys.
Yeah, we've gone
guys,
cross-eyed
make it a bit
here.
neater. Yeah.
But also, it makes no sense in the context of the story. If this is being told, by Bill,
How does he know?
how does he know the flashbacks of Wanda?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't open up to them in this way. We just get hers later on.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that doesn't make sense in the context of the story. So this is where I think the movie often gets a little messier.
Yeah.
Because you can dismiss that and forget you're watching a flashback and just enjoy this aspect. Be like, oh, okay, right. So we've got Bigfoot, we've got this local legend, we've got standard murders. Now you're throwing in preacher stuff, cult related.
It does make it sense now for what you said earlier with the whole Bigfoot movies. The popularity waned by this point. So maybe they just threw everything and see what stuck and went, let's go with Bigfoot.
Maybe it was more simple. Maybe it was the original writing was more simple, where it was just Bigfoot killers, and then they were like, "Oh, we need to change this angle up a bit to make it less of the prevalence." Because one of the weird things it also does, and I guess it's kind of cool, is it tries to make the Bigfoot sympathetic. But we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, Emmett has long died since then. And you kind of think, well, that makes sense why Wanda's a bit of a recluse then, you know, if that was her family life. They go back to the woods, end up camping, fall asleep, but they're woken up in the night by the sound of chanting. Well, a couple of them are, namely Bill and Roy. And they end up following this sound. This was a really odd moment for us. We were like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. As they end up coming across like a satanic ritual where there's like a giant effigy of Bigfoot, lots of people in hoods and stuff like that, and they're putting a woman on an altar and then encouraging a man to sleep with her, to have sex with her. Now, we didn't notice at the time because it's shot poorly, it's dark, it's not easy to see, but that woman is Wanda.
Yeah.
We found that after the fact.
It's a bit complex, isn't it?
Very complex, because it's very quick. And Bill obviously stops it from happening by shooting his gun in the air and everyone runs off. You do get a thing as well where they're like, oh, they recognise some of the townspeople?
Yeah.
And we were like, what?
Yeah, and also like, I think it's a bit stupid, like all these people, and you're just trying to break it up. I wouldn't.
Yeah, we thought that as well. We were kind of like, would you really have got involved? Because like
numbers
alone,
you put yourself in a lot of danger there.
Yeah, because it's weird. It never comes back. We were like, we presumed this was the new direction the film was taking, which it was going to then focus on Bigfoot not being real, but it being more of a cult thing, a worship thing, and actually it was more the cult kill people when they arrived and things like that. It's not. No. This angle is never used again.
No.
Insane.
It's weird.
Absolutely baffling. Seemingly in revenge, though, the morning they find that a boat was now missing. I initially thought it was the cult thing, like that would be the thing, that we're going to trap you here with Bigfoot then.
Yeah.
But we actually see they end up finding footprints left at the shore, so seemingly Bigfoot came along and dealt with their boat instead. So we're really excited about seeing the footprints, making plaster casts of it. That's a long fucking scene. Oh, Good God. And then night falls. We get, there's lots of hiking, lots of moving through the woods. Night falls, and because it's a horror movie, Linda and Gary go to have sex a little bit further away, as you would. My teacher's over there.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go have sex over here. But he ends up getting attacked by Bigfoot. Gary ends up getting slashed by him. But he ends up running off Bigfoot, seemingly, and they survive. Yeah. He is hurt, sometimes. Other times, he's perfectly fucking fine. Yeah. It is annoying. It's like watching a wrestler forget to sell. Yeah, after they've had the lurk worked on for 20 minutes. Yeah. And then suddenly they're running back and forth. And then they're like, oh, yeah. Like, it's that, basically. But the group eventually reach Wanda's cabin. She's a mute. Not friendly. Not refusing them entry because they basically just walk in and force their way in, that aspect. But she's not willing to talk. She doesn't talk. But they bribe her with some candy. She's quite happy about that. And they continue to press her about Bigfoot. It's unnecessary. There's some hands-on stuff here I do not like. Yeah. Like where they're sort of grabbing her and holding her against the wall. And it's like, you guys are fucking dickhead. Yeah. You come to her house.
Yeah. And you're busting in on her. Yeah.
But she ends up freaking out when Bigfoot is mentioned. And there's a specific room in our house that she won't let them in, which is padlocked and stuff like that. That's because that was our old dad's room. We'll tell you now. Yeah. That night, Pete is attacked by Bigfoot. And he ends up getting shooting himself with the rifle in that scene. Oh, yeah. Which was hilarious. We did laugh at that. And they try to find Pete, but Pete is long gone now. So you presume Pete is dead. Yeah. Bill, wanting to find some answer, decides to hypnotise Wanda the next day, which causes her to open up about some of her history and stuff like that. And this is where we get our flashback in a flashback, you know. Her father was crazy religious, like super crazy. Carrie's mother, religious.
Oh, yeah, that
kind of thing. And Wanda was raped by Bigfoot. Yay, fun movie stuff. Yeah. An event that obviously her fanatic father drove him insane. Yeah. He witnesses it as well, and convinced that the beast is a demon, and she's now been raped by a demon, the devil, and stuff like. You can see the issues. Yeah, you can, and it's cool. It's fine.
Yeah, bit of a different angle. Having like him having a Bigfoot interact with a human.
Yeah, it's not nice because it involves rape, and you know, it's a beast raping a woman. It's like, oh, okay, that's fun. It also gets worse because Emmett tries to force an abortion by feeding her poison. Yeah. And like, oh, this film is fun. But she eventually gives birth to a child. But it's like a half mutant, half human child. We don't see it. No. We see Emmett's reaction to it. That's enough. Yeah. I like this. You don't need to see it. Potentially if the effects aren't going to hold up.
Yeah, it's going to ruin the whole moment. Just have it as like, oh, it's horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But he's him thinking it's a demonic baby, he kills it. Literally after it's been born. In revenge, Wanda ends up burning her father alive in the barn, staging it to look like a suicide. Because earlier on, we're given the impression throughout the movie that he died in a fire, having committed suicide. It turns out that Wanda did it in revenge. Yeah?
There's a lot going on.
This is a lot of detail. And you're like, I like it. I do like it. But the problem is you've got all this interesting story stuff wrapped up in a Bigfoot. Yeah. That's the shit part. Yeah. And I really wish they'd gone with the angle of Bigfoot never existed. But he used it, and they used the legend. And maybe even, like I said, had someone dress up in it in like a... Yeah. That way to kill people who then stumble across their secrets of this cult.
Like, or had it like it was, or some sort of like wood-dwelling man.
Yeah. Or even if you want to have Bigfoot, make it Bigfoot under their control. Yeah. Yeah. That thing. Yeah. But yeah, Bill wanting to find evidence of this Bigfoot child because it will pretty much, if we can get this evidence, that'll be enough to convince people. Finds a cemetery nearby. We ends up digging up the skeletal remains of the infant Bigfoot. You see its skeleton. It's not great. It doesn't look good. I couldn't make sense of what it is. Like I thought it was because it's a skeleton. You're struggling to make it look monstrous. Yeah. So all it does is look like a jangling collection of bones that wouldn't be in a human. Yeah. That thing. Yeah. But guess who's pissed off about that? Only Bigfoot, who appears in the cemetery and grabs his dead child. You know? Yeah. And we were kind of like, oh, okay, he's just after his child. Like, because he disappears afterwards. Yeah. We're like, okay, is this the sympathetic angle? Which it is. It's like, ultimately, feel sorry for Bigfoot, right? Yeah. You know, his child got killed. He only wanted that. And you're like, yeah, but dude, you raped a woman. And like, if you've got that much sense in your head to know all this, then... I don't know, man. Yeah, like it's a weird angle, this one. But the rest all barricade himself inside Wanda's cabin when Bigfoot comes back. He hangs Pete's mutilated body in the porch, which is where Pete was, before just assaulting the house. So this is obviously the part I talked about at the start. That was the new ending that was thrown in. As he just goes rampaging through the house, easily breaking in, while Wanda just sort of sits there calmly as he kills everybody. Strangles Carla to death. The rest try and get into the kitchen. He disembowels Gary. That's a good death. Yep. Enjoyed that one. Roy tries to stop him. Bigfoot smashes his head through the window, then cuts his throat in the glass by pushing it down. That was another good one. And then impales Linda with a pitchfork. It's a variety, a smorgasbord of deaths. Yeah, I like the pitchfork one. Absolutely. But last but not least, he gets Bill and burns his face on a hot stove, leaving him for dead. This is what I talked about at the start. When he puts his face on the stove, the burns would be all over his forehead and his upper cheek. In the hospital, the rag stops here. Yeah. And you're like, you couldn't get that right? You couldn't do it. Yeah. You couldn't just wrap his face in bandages?
Yeah, a little mouth hole. Yeah.
How easy would that have been? Yeah. How easy would that have been? But yeah, he's left for dead. But sometime later, Bill is the one in the hospital bed. This is the end of the story. He was found unconscious with his face horribly burned. The detectives inquired about Carla and the 4 students, all obviously missing. Yeah. Bill told him these events, but they don't believe him. In fact, they mock him. They don't believe him, they mock him and suggest that he is responsible and he's criminally insane, and that's where the movie ends. It's a solid ending. Yeah, it would be. It's a solid ending because we get a massive orgy of violence and death, and his story is disbelieved and he's the one blamed. Yeah? Yeah. I quite like that. Yeah. This film's it's a struggle one because a lot of the parts are really good, well done, and told well with enough violence and gore to make it a nasty and a good horror movie. But the overall picture, the overall story is where it's like, not connecting with this. I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling your Bigfoot angle. I'm not feeling the slow parts. I'm not feeling the reasons why you're there. I can't connect to that. So you end up enjoying the moments rather than the film overall, you think?
Yeah, too many threads. And just not enough to hold you. You kind of just not held by it enough.
The connective tissue. Like, that's what it is. We've got these muscly parts where you get in, like, say, your ending involving the uber violence, the bits in the town with the conversation, the part at the cabin where they're trying to get information out of Lou, the flashbacks of Wanda. These are the muscly bits of the meat. And then you've got these connective tissue parts that are really thin and tear easily if you just pull at them.
And pacing. And I do, like I said, like the ending. I do like the idea of, because we've always said that in horror films, because it normally cuts before you get to that.
Yeah.
Of what happens when you try and explain to like police what happened in a supernatural manner? They're gonna go, no, you're arrested. You're going to prison.
Yeah.
And that kind of this having this ending was like, yeah, they just think he's mental. They're gonna put him away.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it as well. But there are too many unanswered questions as well. And the biggest one for me, the one that I keep coming back to, is what the hell was the cult shit? What was with the town cult thing? What was the fucking point of that?
Yeah.
What on earth was this whole Wanda going to be banged on top of this altar? How did that have anything to do with it? What did it mean? It's like you were starting the baby steps to creating a bigger picture, and then just thought, oh, nah.
Well, much preferred that.
It would have been an interesting angle. I would have struggled to see how it worked in the context of the film overall. Particularly, that might have worked better had we had the ending with the sheriff. Because then, by him telling Wanda Bigfoot's safe, it's implied they tried to make sure these people left to keep Bigfoot safe, and it was all part of that. Yeah. That would be weird as well, because you're like, why were you holding her down on an altar to be raped? Yeah. Like, do you think she's some sort of like goddess because
of her
original child? Like, it is very, very, very hard to understand. So I really don't like that as well. But I keep coming back to the thing, the whole reasoning to be there, and our characters. While the acting, I can't really think of bad acting. I can't really think of faulty parts and all that. There's no characters. Yeah. From our main group, the students and Bill. Wanda, I think, has got a little bit going on, stuff like that, because of her muteness and her backstory. She gets a bit more. But Bill and the students, when it comes down to it, they're just fucking fodder. Yeah, of course they are. They're just fodder. Yeah. And with a story that's got this much detail in it, with all these weird threads, you couldn't have done bigger and better characters. Yeah. You clearly got some skill at writing. Because this has got more depth than most Bigfoot Sasquatch movies I've seen. Yeah. And it's got more depth than a lot of video nasties. Because you could have, if you chose, just gone, there you go there, Bigfoot exists, and then they get hunted. Yeah. And that was all you did.
But no, they were trying to do a different route.
They wanted to do different things. Not a lot of it worked, as we said, but they wanted to. So you've clearly got some skill. Damn, you could have done better with the characters then. Because I didn't give a shit about anyone dying. No, I didn't give a shit. No. And like, it's weird, considering the effects of the gore and the violence, and the location and the destruction of the house at the end, all holds up pretty good. A simple thing, like opening a movie with, oh, this guy's got a mangled face, and we're like, there's a cloth over his lower jaw. Yeah, that's it. And then at the end, going, oh no, his face apparently got heartburn. And well, no, it didn't. We can see it didn't in the shot. What, you fucking gave him the perfect skin grafts, did you? Like, something like that. It's like, how did you fuck that up? Yeah. That was so...
Simple point.
And because it's how it opens, you're almost immediately on a back foot going, oh, okay. And then you've got, because you're on the back foot, you've then got to recover. And then you're on edge and tense going, well, you're going to fuck it up again. Yeah. You know? It's a square in the middle movie. Definitely. Not a bad movie, not a great movie. No. It's decent, and a lot of it, like we did, you can enjoy. Particularly when you describe it to a person, say, hey, it's called Night of the Demon. It's a video nasty about Bigfoot. Yeah. Stay away. No, it's better than that. It's better than that. I think that's the highest praise we can give it, really. Definitely. Yeah. You've seen it? Let us know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?